The desert stretched out like an endless canvas under the midnight sky, painted with stars that shimmered like scattered diamonds. Keanu Reeves, his heart heavy from a long day of navigating the chaos of the world, felt the familiar pull of the open road. His arch motorcycle, a sleek masterpiece of engineering with its polished chrome and low, predatory growl, stood ready in his garage. It was more than a machine. It was his companion, his escape, his way to find clarity when life got too loud. He slipped on his worn leather jacket, the one that carried the scent of countless rides, and pulled on his gloves. The night was calling, and Keanu never ignored its voice. He swung his leg over the bike, the cool leather of the seat grounding him. With a twist of the throttle, the engine roared to life, its hum vibrating through his bones like a song only he could hear. The garage door rolled up, revealing the dark expanse of the desert highway beyond. Keanu took a deep breath, the crisp night air filling his lungs, and rode out into the blackness. The city lights faded behind him, replaced by the vast, unyielding silence of the desert. The stars above were his only witnesses, twinkling as if they knew the secrets of the road. The wind whipped past, tugging at his jacket as he leaned into the curves of the highway. Each mile melted away the weight of the day. Endless meetings, scripts to read, the constant hum of expectations. On the bike, none of that mattered. It was just him, the road, and the rhythm of the engine. Keanu smiled softly, his eyes scanning the horizon. The desert had a way of stripping everything down to its essence, leaving only truth. And the truth was he felt free. He rode for what felt like hours, though time seemed to blur out here. The highway was a ribbon of asphalt cutting through the sand, illuminated only by his headlight and the faint glow of the moon. The cool air stung his face, but it was a welcome sting, sharp and alive. His mind wandered to the roads he'd traveled over the years. Coastal highways in California, winding mountain paths in Europe, dusty trails in places he couldn't even name anymore. Each ride had been a chapter in his story, a moment where he could just be. No cameras, no scripts, no expectations. Just Keanu, the bike, and the road. But the peace of the night was about to be tested. As Keanu rounded a bend, his headlight caught a flicker of movement ahead. A cluster of lights pierced the darkness, accompanied by the guttural roar of engines, not one, but many. His grip tightened on the handlebars, his senses sharpening. Up ahead, a group of bikers had gathered, their motorcycles lined up across the road like a barricade. The Desert Wolves, a notorious gang known for claiming this stretch of highway as their own, were holding court under the stars. Their bikes were a mix of choppers and custom rigs, all gleaming with chrome and menace. The air crackled with their energy, wild, untamed, and looking for trouble. Keanu slowed his bike, the Arch's engine purring steadily as he approached. The gang noticed him immediately, their laughter and shouts cutting through the night. A towering figure stepped forward, his silhouette backlit by the glow of their bikes. This was Rex, the leader of the Desert Wolves, a man whose reputation preceded him. His leather vest was patched with symbols of the gang, and his arms were thick with muscle, scarred from years of fights and rides. He grinned, but it wasn't friendly. It was the grin of a predator sizing up its prey. "Who's this pretty boy on his fancy ride?" Rex bellowed, his voice carrying over the rumble of engines. The gang erupted in laughter, their bikes revving in unison like a pack of snarling beasts. "Pull over, Hollywood. This road belongs to the wolves." Keanu brought his bike to a stop, his movements calm and deliberate. He killed the engine and swung off, removing his helmet to reveal his face. His dark hair fell across his forehead, and his eyes, steady and unyielding, met Rex's gaze. The gang circled closer, their bikes forming a loose ring around him. Keanu felt the weight of their stares, but he didn't flinch. He'd faced worse than this, on the road and off it. "Just riding to feel free," Keanu said, his voice low but clear, carrying that quiet strength that made people listen. A small smile played on his lips, not mocking but genuine. "Didn't know this road had an owner." Rex laughed, a harsh bark that echoed in the night. "Freedom? This is our turf, man. You want to ride here, you gotta pay a toll. Or maybe we'll just take that shiny bike of yours." The gang cheered, their eyes glinting with greed as they eyed the Arch. It was a rare machine, a work of art, and they knew it. Keanu tilted his head, considering. He wasn't one for confrontation, but he wasn't about to back down either. His years on the road had taught him how to read people, and he saw something in Rex's eyes. Beneath the bravado, there was a hunger for respect, not just fear. Keanu's smile widened slightly. "How about a race?" he suggested. "You win, I'll pay whatever toll you want. I win, you let me ride through." And maybe we all get ice cream after. The gang burst into laughter again, the idea of ice cream catching them off guard. Rex's grin faltered, then returned, sharper this time. Ice cream? You're a weird one, Hollywood. But I like your style. All right, a race it is. Me and you. My bike against that fancy toy of yours. Loser buys the whole gang dessert. Deal, Keanu said, extending a hand. Rex looked at it for a moment, surprised, then shook it. His grip was iron, but Keanu's was steady, unflinching. The gang hooted and hollered, already imagining their victory. They didn't know Keanu, not really. They saw the movie star, the pretty boy, but they didn't know the man who'd spent decades mastering the art of the ride. The rules were simple: a 5-mile stretch of desert highway, marked by a rusted signpost at the finish line. The road was narrow, with sharp curves and patches of loose gravel that could send a bike skidding. Rex's machine was a beast, a custom chopper with a V-twin engine that roared like thunder. It was built for power, for straightaways where it could dominate. Keanu's arch, though, was a different animal, sleek, agile, designed for precision. It wasn't just about speed, it was about control, and Keanu knew how to wield it. The gang lined up along the sides of the road, their headlights casting long shadows across the asphalt. One of the wolves, a wiry guy with a bandana, raised a flashlight to signal the start. Keanu and Rex positioned their bikes side by side, engines idling. Rex revved his chopper, the sound deafening, and shot Keanu a cocky grin. Hope you're ready to lose, Hollywood. Keanu just nodded, his focus already on the road ahead. The flashlight dropped, and they were off. Dust exploded behind them as the bikes surged forward, tires screaming against the pavement. Rex's chopper took an early lead, its raw power propelling it ahead. The gang cheered wildly, their voices swallowed by the roar of the engines. Keanu stayed close, his arch hugging the road like a predator stalking its prey. He didn't fight for the lead, not yet. He knew this road, knew its tricks. The first curve came fast, a tight bend that demanded precision. Rex barreled through, his bike wobbling slightly as he fought to keep control. Keanu leaned low, his body in perfect sync with the arch, carving the turn with surgical accuracy. He gained a few feet, the gap between them narrowing. The highway stretched out again, and Rex gunned his engine, pulling ahead once more. Keanu didn't chase him. He rode steady, his eyes scanning the road for the next challenge, a patch of gravel just before the second curve. Sure enough, Rex hit it too fast, his rear wheel kicking out as he struggled to hold the line. Keanu saw his chance. He twisted the throttle, the arch responding instantly, and slipped past Rex on the inside of the curve. The gang's cheers faltered, replaced by murmurs of surprise. The race was neck and neck now, the two bikes flying through the night. Keanu's heart pounded, not with fear, but with the thrill of the ride. This was what he lived for, the moment when everything else fell away, and it was just him and the road. Rex was good, no question, but Keanu had something Rex didn't. Years of quiet discipline, of learning the language of the bike. Every twist of the throttle, every lean into a turn, was a conversation between him and the arch. The final bend loomed ahead, a sharp hairpin that would make or break the race. Rex pushed harder, his chopper roaring as he tried to reclaim the lead. But Keanu was ready. He braked late, letting Rex overshoot the turn, then leaned hard into the curve, his knee nearly kissing the asphalt. The arch responded like an extension of his body, slicing through the turn with precision. He shot out of the bend and onto the final stretch, the rusted signpost glowing in his headlight. Rex was close behind, but not close enough. Keanu crossed the finish line first, the arch's engine purring as he slowed to a stop. Rex pulled up a moment later, his chest heaving, his face a mix of frustration and awe. The gang was silent for a moment, then erupted into cheers, not for Rex, but for Keanu. They'd expected an easy win, but they'd gotten a show. Rex climbed off his bike, his boots crunching on the gravel. He walked over to Keanu, who was leaning casually against his arch, helmet in hand. "You're good, man," Rex said, his voice gruff but genuine. "Real good. Never seen anyone ride like that." Keanu smiled, wiping a bead of sweat from his brow. "It's not about winning," he said. "It's about the ride, and the friends you make along the way." He offered his hand again, and this time, Rex took it without hesitation. The gang gathered around, their earlier hostility replaced by curiosity. "You're all right, Hollywood," one of them said, a woman with a shaved head and a leather jacket covered in patches. "Want to ride with us for a bit?" Keanu looked at the group, their faces lit by the glow of their bikes. They were rough, sure, but there was something real about them, something he respected. Yeah, he said. I'd like that. The desert wolves led the way to a small diner just off the highway, a neon-lit oasis in the middle of nowhere. The sign flickered, advertising best ice cream in the desert, and Keanu couldn't help but chuckle. True to his word, he bought ice cream for the whole gang, chocolate sundaes, vanilla cones, and a few root beer floats for good measure. They crowded into the diner, filling the booths and spilling out onto the patio, their bikes parked in a haphazard line outside. As they ate, the wolves opened up. Rex told stories of their rides across the country, of run-ins with cops and rival gangs, of nights spent under the stars. Keanu listened, his quiet presence drawing them out. He shared a few stories of his own, not about Hollywood, but about the road. The time he rode through a thunderstorm in Montana, the rain so heavy he could barely see. The morning he watched the sunrise over the Pacific, his bike parked on a cliff as the world turned gold. The wolves hung on his words, realizing that this pretty boy wasn't just a celebrity, he was one of them. The woman with the shaved head, who introduced herself as Lena, leaned across the table. So, what's the deal with you, Keanu? Why do you ride? Keanu took a bite of his ice cream, considering the question. The road doesn't care who you are, he said finally. It doesn't care about your name, your job, your past. It's just you and the truth. Out there, I can breathe. Rex nodded, his eyes distant. Yeah, I get that. This road, this desert, it's our church. Our sanctuary. Exactly, Keanu said. And you don't own a sanctuary. You share it. The words hung in the air, and for a moment, the gang was quiet. Then Lena laughed, raising her root beer float. To sharing the road, she said. The others joined in, their glasses and cones clinking in a makeshift toast. As the night wore on, the conversation turned to the bikes themselves. Keanu talked about the Arch, how he'd co-founded the company to build machines that weren't just vehicles, but extensions of the rider's soul. The wolves listened, fascinated, as he described the design process, the endless tweaks to get the balance just right. In return, they showed off their own bikes, pointing out custom welds and hand-painted details. Keanu admired each one, asking questions and offering genuine praise. He wasn't just humoring them. He was in his element, surrounded by people who understood the language of the road. Eventually, the diner's lights flickered, a sign it was time to close. The gang spilled back out into the parking lot, their energy undimmed. Rex clapped Keanu on the shoulder. You're welcome on our road anytime, man. No tolls, no trouble. Just ride. Keanu grinned. Appreciate that. Maybe I'll see you out there again. He climbed onto his arch, the engine rumbling to life. The wolves watched as he pulled onto the highway, his headlight cutting through the darkness. They waved, their silhouettes fading into the night as Keanu rode on. The desert stretched out before him, endless and free. His midnight ride had started with danger, but it had ended with something better, connection, respect, and a reminder that the road always had a way of bringing people together. As he rode, Keanu thought about the wolves. They weren't so different from him, not really. They were searching for the same thing, freedom, truth, a place to belong. He'd turned rivals into brothers, not with fists or bravado, but with a shared love of the ride. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, and the wind carried a hint of the ice cream they'd shared. Keanu smiled, twisting the throttle just a bit more. The road was calling, and he was already looking forward to the next ride. The desert night enveloped him, the hum of the arch blending with the whispers of the wind. Keanu rode on, his heart light, his mind clear. The road stretched endlessly ahead, and for now, that was all he needed. But the story of that night wasn't over, not yet. The desert wolves, inspired by Keanu's calm strength and unexpected kindness, began to rethink their ways. Rex, in particular, couldn't shake the memory of that race, of the way Keanu had ridden with such precision and grace. It wasn't just skill, it was passion, pure and unfiltered. The next time the wolves gathered, Rex brought up Keanu's words about sharing the road. Maybe we've been doing this wrong, he said, his voice gruff but thoughtful. Maybe this highway isn't just ours. Maybe it's for anyone who needs it. Lena nodded, her eyes glinting in the firelight. He didn't fight us. He didn't run. He just rode. And then he bought us ice cream, for God's sake. The gang laughed, but there was a new respect in their voices. They started small, letting other riders pass without hassle, sharing stories instead of throwing threats. Word spread through the desert, and the legend of the wolves began to shift. They were still tough, still wild, but they were learning what Keanu already knew. True freedom came from respect, not control. Keanu, meanwhile, kept riding. He didn't seek out the wolves again, but he heard whispers of their change through other riders he met on the road. A trucker at a gas station mentioned a gang that had helped him fix a flat tire instead of shaking him down. A lone biker at a roadside bar talked about sharing a beer with a guy named Rex who'd quoted Keanu word for word. "It's about the ride and the friends you make." Keanu just smiled, paid for his coffee, and rode on. He didn't need credit, he just needed the road. Months later, Keanu found himself back on that same stretch of desert highway. It was another midnight, another moment when the world felt too heavy, and the arch was his only cure. The stars were just as bright, the wind just as cool. But this time, as he rounded a familiar bend, he saw a single light ahead, not a barricade, but a signal. A lone bike was parked on the shoulder, its rider leaning against it, arms crossed. It was Rex. Keanu slowed and pulled over, cutting his engine. Rex straightened, a grin spreading across his face. "Heard you might come this way again," he said. "Figured I'd wait." Keanu raised an eyebrow, his own smile forming. "No race this time?" Rex laughed, shaking his head. "Nah, man. Just wanted to say thanks. You were right about the road, about sharing it. We're trying to be better. Not perfect, but better." Keanu nodded, his eyes warm. "That's all any of us can do." Rex reached into his jacket and pulled out a small patch, a stylized wolf's head with a star above it. "Made this for you," he said, tossing it to Keanu. "You're one of us now, Hollywood. An honorary wolf." Keanu caught the patch, turning it over in his hands. "I'm honored," he said, and he meant it. He tucked the patch into his pocket, knowing it would find a place on his jacket, a quiet reminder of that night. They talked for a while, just two riders under the desert sky. Rex shared how the wolves had started helping stranded travelers, how they'd even organized a charity ride for a local kid's medical bills. Keanu listened, his heart swelling with a quiet pride. He'd always believed in the power of small moments, of connections made on the road. And here was proof. His midnight ride had rippled outward, changing more than just one night. As dawn began to paint the horizon pink, Keanu climbed back onto his arch. "Keep the road open, Rex," he said, his voice soft but firm. "Always," Rex replied, raising a hand in farewell. Keanu rode off, the first light of morning catching the chrome of his bike. The desert was waking up, and the road stretched on, endless and full of possibility. He didn't know when he'd see the wolves again, but he knew they'd be out there, riding under the same stars, sharing the same truth. The road was freedom, but it was also a bridge, between strangers, between rivals, between hearts. And Keanu, as always, would keep riding it, one midnight at a time.